I found out about the loyalty test on a Tuesday night, the kind of night that starts ordinary and ends with your whole world cracking open. My name's Ethan, 38, husband of 9 years, loyal to a fault, or so I thought. My wife, Marissa, was out with her friends that evening. Girls' night, she said, kissing me on the cheek before leaving in that red dress I bought her last Christmas. I remember thinking she still looked breathtaking. I didn't know she was walking straight into the planning session for my humiliation. Around 9 p.m., I was sitting on the couch, half watching a game, when I got a message on Instagram from a woman named Tara. Her profile looked real enough. Mutual friends, pictures that didn't look filtered to death, captions that sounded natural. "Hey," she wrote. "Hope this isn't weird, but I saw you in one of Marissa's posts. You have a great smile." I stared at it for a second. Compliments from strangers weren't my usual nightly entertainment. I typed back a polite, "Thanks," smiley face, and went back to the game. But then she replied again, fast. "You married?" Because that smile looks dangerous. Something in my gut twisted. I laughed it off, but my curiosity flared. Married guys get tested in small ways all the time. A flirty waitress, a coworker too friendly at happy hour. But this was different. She knew my wife's name. She had context. I didn't respond again. I told myself to ignore it. But the next day, she messaged again. "Did I scare you off?" she wrote, followed by a winking emoji. Now, I should have blocked her. That's what a good husband does, right? But something about it felt off. Like bait. Like someone was watching to see how I'd react. So, I decided to play along. Not because I wanted to cheat, but because I wanted to know. I replied, not scared, just surprised. "You usually message married guys?" She laughed, or sent LOL, same thing these days. Only the interesting ones. Over the next few days, she kept messaging. Compliments, teasing, a photo of her at the gym. Nothing explicit, but suggestive enough. I kept my tone cool, curious, but never crossing the line. I wanted to see where this went. Something told me there was more here than some random woman sliding into DMs. Then, one night, she said something that gave it away. "You and Marissa look happy, but do you ever wonder if she's as loyal as you are?" I froze. That wasn't flirting, that was a probe. A trap. I typed back slowly. "Why would you ask that?" She replied almost instantly. "Just curious. Some women get bored, you know?" That's when I knew. This wasn't about her. It was about Marissa. Someone had put this woman up to it. So I leaned in. "Maybe," I typed, "but she's clever enough not to get caught." She sent a laughing emoji and said, "I like how you think." After that, I played along carefully, just enough to make whoever was behind it think I was falling for the act. I mirrored Tara's tone, threw a few harmless compliments her way, even flirted a little, just to sell it. But inside, I was boiling. Why would anyone, least of all my wife, feel the need to test me? A week later, I got my answer. I came home from work, and Marissa was sitting at the kitchen table with her arms folded, surrounded by her friends, the girls' night crew. They looked like they were waiting for a show to start. My stomach dropped. Marissa's voice was cold. "So, Ethan," she said, "who's Tara?" That's when I saw her phone on the table, open to screenshots. My messages. Every single one. They had set me up. And I wasn't angry because they caught me. I was angry because they thought they could. I looked at each of them, Marissa, her smug friend Jenna, and the 2 others who couldn't even meet my eyes. "You really did this?" I asked, calm but shaking inside. Marissa crossed her arms tighter. "We just wanted to see if you'd take the bait." "And you did," Jenna added with a grin. I stared at them for a long moment. "You wanted to test my loyalty?" I said quietly. "Congratulations. You passed your own test, because now I know exactly who you are." I walked out before they could say another word. That night, I didn't go home. I drove until the city lights faded behind me and ended up at a cheap motel off the highway, the kind of place where the air smells like dust and secrets. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone lighting up with her calls, thinking about the years I'd given her, the trust we'd built, and how easily she'd turned it into a game. She wanted to test my loyalty? Fine. I'd show her what happens when a man stops trying to prove it. The morning after I walked out, my phone looked like a war zone. 23 missed calls from Marissa, a dozen texts from her friends, even one from her mother asking what I'd done to upset her. I didn't respond. I just stared at the messages while sipping bad motel coffee and feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Quiet. Empty. Dangerous piece. By noon, I packed my things and drove to my buddy Nate's place. He opened the door, took one look at me, and said, "What happened, man? You look like you buried someone." I laughed once. Maybe I did. I told him everything. The fake account, the setup, the confrontation. He stared at me like I'd told him aliens had landed. "She did that? With her friends?" "Yeah," I said. "They said it was just a joke, a loyalty test." He shook his head. "That's not a test, bro. That's sabotage." He offered me his spare room, and I took it. That night, while I lay on a half-deflated air mattress staring at the ceiling, the reality started to sink in. They hadn't just doubted me. They had planned to humiliate me. They wanted proof that I was as flawed as the men they complained about over wine and gossip. But I hadn't cheated. I'd played their game better than they expected. And now, they didn't know what I'd do next. That was the best leverage I had. 2 days passed before Marissa showed up. She knocked on Nate's door like she owned the place. He opened it halfway, glanced at me, and said, "You sure you want to deal with this right now?" "Yeah," I said. "Let her in." She looked exhausted, makeup smudged, eyes red, still wearing the same necklace I bought her on our 5th anniversary. "Ethan," she said softly, "can we talk?" "Now you want to talk?" I said. She flinched. "I made a mistake. I wanted to know if you'd ever hurt me." Jenna said. "Stop," I said. "You let your friends convince you to trap your husband because of something Jenna said?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't think you'd flirt back." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "You didn't think I'd figure it out either." She swallowed hard. "So you knew?" "Yeah," I said. "Pretty early on. I played along so you'd see what betrayal looks like when it's engineered. You wanted to test my loyalty? Congratulations, you tested your own integrity instead." She looked like she wanted to argue, but there was nothing left to say. I walked to the door and held it open. "Go home, Marissa. Please," she said, voice cracking. "Don't do this. We can fix it." "Fix what? The marriage or the experiment?" She didn't answer. She just stood there, crying quietly while I stared past her. I waited until she finally turned and walked out to her car. I didn't watch her leave. After that, the silence became my companion. Days turned into a week. I focused on work, hit the gym, started eating real food again. Nate said I looked lighter, freer. Maybe I was. I wasn't checking my phone every hour, waiting for apologies that couldn't fix what broke. But then, one evening, I got a message from Tara. Not from the fake account, from her real one. It was a simple line. "You deserve to know the truth." I stared at it for a long time, heart pounding. The profile picture showed the same woman, but this time she looked different, less polished. "Real." I typed back, "What truth?" She replied, "It wasn't all their idea." My stomach turned cold. "What do you mean?" She paused for a minute, then sent another message. "Marissa didn't just want to test you. She wanted to catch you. She told me you'd been distant, that she thought you were cheating first. She said she needed proof so she could leave you clean." I sat back, every nerve in my body buzzing. Marissa hadn't been testing my loyalty. She'd been preparing her escape. And I had played her game perfectly, just not in the way she expected. I must have read Tara's message 10 times before it sank in. She wanted to catch me. Not test me. Not tease me. Catch me. I stared at the screen, every nerve wired tight. Tara kept typing. "She told me you checked out, that you were probably seeing someone from work. She said if I could get proof you'd flirt back, she could file first. She even said she'd split the cash if I helped her." Cash. That word hit like a slap. I called her. She picked up on the second ring, her voice shaking. "Ethan, I didn't think it'd go that far. I swear. I just needed the money. I didn't think she'd actually say it." I cut her off. "Did she pay you to set me up?" A pause. Then a small, broken, "Yes." I hung up. Not because I was angry at Tara, but because hearing it out loud made everything real. My wife had hired someone to destroy our marriage from the inside out. And when it didn't work, she turned it into a public show. The next morning, I went back home. The key still worked. Marissa was in the kitchen, hair messy, eyes puffy, like she hadn't slept in days. She froze when she saw me. "Ethan," she whispered. I didn't say a word. I just set my phone on the counter, hit play, and let her listen to the recording, Tara's confession. Every word, every lie. When it ended, the only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. Marissa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. It wasn't supposed to go like that. "Like what?" I asked. "Like you paying some stranger to flirt with me until you could frame me as the bad guy?" Like planning your divorce before you even talked to me? Tears streamed down her face. I thought you didn't love me anymore. You barely looked at me lately. I slammed my palm against the counter, hard enough to make her jump. Because I was tired of being treated like a suspect in my own marriage. You don't test loyalty by burning trust to the ground. She covered her face and sobbed, but I didn't feel sympathy. Not anymore. I'd spent years putting her needs before mine, walking on eggshells so she'd feel secure. All that time, she was setting me up to fail. I picked up my phone and headed toward the door. You wanted to end this, Marissa. Congratulations. You just did. Ethan, please. I stopped. You wanted to prove I'd betray you? You did that yourself. I walked out, got in my car, and drove straight to my lawyer. His name was Gregory, calm voice, sharp mind, no nonsense. I laid everything on his desk, screenshots, messages, the recording. He listened quietly, nodding. When I finished, he said, "You realize what this means, right? She tried to manufacture infidelity to gain leverage. That's fraud." I blinked. Fraud? Absolutely, he said. And if she filed any paperwork claiming marital misconduct, we can use this to destroy her claim. You could walk away with everything. The house, assets, your dignity. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. It wasn't joy. It was something colder, heavier, justice. That night, Marissa texted me again. "Please come home. We can fix this. I made a mistake." I typed back. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." I didn't hit send right away. I just stared at the blinking cursor, thinking about the years we spent together, the nights we laughed, the mornings she'd kiss me half asleep. And then I remembered the look on her face at that kitchen table, triumphant, certain she'd caught me doing something wrong. That was the last time I saw the woman I loved. The one in the kitchen that morning? She was a stranger wearing her face. I hit send. Then I blocked her number. By the next week, the divorce papers landed in my mailbox. Filed by Marissa. Filed before the loyalty test. Gregory was right. She'd planned it long before she ever hired Tara. She was just waiting for an excuse to make herself look like the victim. But the problem with lies is that they rot from the inside out. And I had proof. Gregory filed a countersuit within 48 hours. Breach of trust, emotional manipulation, attempted fraud. He told me to sit tight and keep everything documented. "You don't win by yelling, Ethan," he said. "You win by letting her hang herself with her own rope." So I did. Marissa started blowing up my email. Half apologies, half accusations. One minute she missed me. The next she was threatening to tell everyone what kind of man I really was. I didn't respond to a single one. Silence became my weapon. Then, 2 weeks later, she showed up at my office. She looked polished again. Fresh hair, pressed blazer, practiced smile. The kind she used when she wanted to seem reasonable. "Can we talk?" she asked in front of my coworkers, forcing me to nod. We sat in my car in the parking lot. She started crying the moment the door closed. I panicked, "Ethan, I didn't mean for any of it to go that far. I thought you'd stopped loving me." "You don't fake a whole woman to prove love," I said quietly. "You asked for a conversation." "I know," she whispered. "But we can still fix it. We can start over. I'll call off the divorce." I looked at her, really looked. The woman I once trusted with everything, now desperate to undo her own disaster. "You filed before the setup," I said. "You didn't want a husband. You wanted insurance." Her tears froze. "Who told you that?" "Doesn't matter," I said. "You wanted to make me look like the villain so you could walk away clean. Now you're the one under a microscope." She blinked fast, her voice trembling. "You wouldn't expose me?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She saw it in my eyes. After that day, everything shifted. Gregory showed me the court's response to our countersuit. They were investigating her claim for falsified evidence. The test screenshots she'd used as proof were traced back to her own IP address. Tara's confession sealed it. Gregory grinned. "She's cooked." I should have felt triumphant, but instead, I just felt tired. You don't win when trust dies. You just stop losing. That night, I sat in my apartment with a beer in my hand, watching the city lights blink like distant stars. I thought about how love can turn into something cruel when people stop believing in it. Marissa wanted to test my loyalty, but in the end, she tested her own humanity and failed. 2 months later, she called again. I almost ignored it. But something in me, maybe the part that still remembered the good years, made me pick up. Her voice was quiet, raw. "Ethan, I lost everything. The girls won't talk to me. My lawyer dropped me. Please, can we meet? I hesitated. Why? She sniffed. Because I finally see what I did. I didn't answer right away. The silence stretched long enough for her to start crying again. Then I said, softly, you didn't just test my loyalty, Marissa. You tested how far I could forgive. And I think you finally got your result. I hung up. A month after that last call, word spread through town faster than wildfire. Marissa had lost her job. Officially, it was a breach of conduct. Unofficially, someone at her firm had found out about the fake account, the messages, the setup. HR didn't take kindly to employees fabricating digital identities, especially when it involved blackmail. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't have to. Rumors travel on their own. I should have felt relieved. I should have celebrated. Instead, I sat there in silence, staring at the paperwork that said I was finally free. The relief came later, slow, quiet, like a breath you didn't realize you'd been holding for years. Still, the calls kept coming. Unknown numbers. Late-night messages from blocked accounts. I ignored them all until one afternoon when she showed up outside my building again. No makeup this time, no confidence. Just Marissa, the real one, stripped of the armor she used to hide behind. She looked smaller somehow. You got what you wanted, she said. No, Marissa, I said. You got what you built. She swallowed hard. I lost everything. My job, my friends, even Jenna won't talk to me. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. I raised an eyebrow. And whose idea was the test, again? She laughed, but it was hollow. You don't understand. I thought if I caught you lying, it would hurt less than being left. I was so sure you'd leave me eventually. Her words hit something I didn't want to feel, pity. The kind that creeps in when you remember who someone used to be. I never planned on leaving, I said, until you gave me a reason. She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. I know, and I can't sleep knowing that. Every time I close my eyes, I hear your voice from that night. You said I tested your integrity. You were right. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The wind moved between us, soft and cold. Then she whispered, do you ever think we could start over? I almost laughed. Start over? After you hired someone to flirt with me, lied about it, and tried to frame me for cheating? She flinched. I miss you. I looked at her one last time and said, you miss the man who loved you, not the one you made out of your fears. When she left, I didn't watch her go this time either. I'd already spent too many nights watching her walk away from the truth. After that, I started rebuilding. I moved into a new apartment downtown, smaller, cleaner, no memories hiding in the corners. I bought a used guitar, something I hadn't touched in years. I took weekend trips alone, started hiking again, learned how to be okay with silence that wasn't angry. Freedom doesn't come like thunder. It comes like dawn, slow, steady, gentle enough to not scare you when it finally arrives. Then, one evening, I got another message. Not from Marissa, from Tara. I thought you should know, she wrote. She's been asking about you again. Says she wants to make things right. I typed back. Tell her she already did. She taught me to never doubt my instincts again. Tara sent one last reply. You're a better man than she deserved. Maybe. Or maybe I was just done being tested. That night, I stood on my balcony watching the lights shimmer over the city, realizing I wasn't angry anymore. Just grateful. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't destroy you. It frees you from pretending everything was fine. And for the first time in years, I believed it. It was almost 6 months before I saw her again. I'd stopped waiting for closure by then. The papers were signed, the apartment felt like mine, and my life had started to take shape again. Quiet mornings, gym before work, dinners that didn't end in arguments. I was finally steady. Then one Sunday morning, someone buzzed my door. I looked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. Marissa. She looked nervous, clutching a small paper bag like a peace offering. I opened the door halfway. Ethan, she said softly, I baked those muffins you used to like. I almost laughed. You think muffins are going to erase what you did? She winced. No, I didn't know how else to start. I hesitated, then stepped aside. You've got 5 minutes. She walked in slowly, scanning the place. You really moved on, huh? Had to, I said. She nodded, setting the bag on the counter. You look good, she said. Healthier. I am. There was silence for a long time. Then she said, I've been in therapy, trying to figure out why I did what I did. My therapist says I was trying to control what scared me, losing you. I looked at her. And how'd that work out? She gave a faint, sad smile. I lost you anyway. I leaned back against the counter. You didn't lose me because of fear, Marissa. You lost me because you chose control over trust. She nodded, eyes glistening. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. There it was, the truth, or what was left of it. She'd finally stopped defending herself. I almost admired her for that. Almost. She took a deep breath. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I broke something I can't fix. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Then I walked to the door and opened it. I forgive you, I said quietly. Her eyes widened. You do? Yeah. But forgiveness isn't an invitation. She nodded, biting her lip. I understand. She walked past me, then stopped at the doorway. Do you ever miss me? I thought about that for a long second. I miss who we were before you stopped believing in me. She blinked hard and nodded. That's fair. When the door closed behind her, I stood there in the silence, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger, not sadness, just finality. For the first time since everything fell apart, I realized I didn't need to prove anything, to her, to anyone. The test was over. And this time, I was the one who passed. 2 months passed after that final visit. I thought it was over for good. Then one rainy Friday night, around midnight, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something, curiosity, instinct, maybe habit, made me answer. Ethan. The voice was small, shaky. Marissa. I sighed. It's late. I know, she whispered. I didn't know who else to call. There was noise in the background, traffic, rain, maybe the faint hum of a bar jukebox. Where are you? I asked. Outside your building. I swore under my breath and threw on a jacket. When I stepped outside, she was sitting on the curb, soaked through, makeup streaked, holding her phone like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Marissa, what the hell are you doing? I said. She looked up at me, eyes glassy. I messed everything up. I crouched down beside her. You already told me that. No, Ethan. I mean everything. She wiped her face. I lost my apartment. Jenna told everyone what I did. My parents won't even answer my calls. I've been sleeping in my car. For a second, the part of me that used to love her stirred, but I caught it before it turned into pity. You've got family. Friends. They're gone, she said. I just wanted to see you, to tell you that you were right. About everything. Rain trickled down her face. She wasn't dramatic or manipulative this time. She was just empty. I helped her up and brought her inside, handed her a towel, made coffee. She sat on the edge of the couch, trembling. I keep thinking about how you looked that night, she said quietly. When I accused you, you didn't even yell. You just walked away. That was worse than if you'd screamed. I had nothing left to say. I replied. She nodded, staring into her cup. You know what the worst part is? I thought I was being smart. I thought I was protecting myself. But all I did was destroy the only person who ever fought for me. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You can't protect love by poisoning it, Marissa. She looked up at me, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. Can I stay here tonight? Just until morning? I hesitated. Every memory, every betrayal flashed through my head. But so did the years before all that. The laughter, the small kindnesses, the way she used to look at me like I was her home. You can stay, I said finally. Couch only. She nodded. Thank you. I left her there and went to my room, but I didn't sleep. I lay awake, listening to the faint sound of her crying through the walls. It didn't hurt anymore. It just reminded me how far gone we were. When I came out in the morning, she was gone. The blanket folded neatly, the coffee mug washed and left to dry. On the counter was a note, written in her handwriting. You were right. I failed the test, not you. I hope you find someone who never makes you prove your heart. For the first time since everything happened, I smiled, sad, but real. Because maybe forgiveness wasn't about taking someone back. Maybe it was about letting go so completely that the past no longer had claws. That morning, I walked to the window, watched the rain ease into sunlight, and whispered, "Goodbye, Marissa." And for once, it felt like the last time I'd ever have to say it. 6 months passed after that night, the last night I ever saw her. I didn't hear from Marissa again, not a call, not a text, not even a whisper through mutual friends. It was like she vanished into the quiet. At first, I kept expecting her name to pop up somewhere, a message, a rumor, but it never did. And eventually, I stopped checking. Life settled into something steady. I'd wake up early, run by the river before work, come home to silence that didn't ache anymore. I'd cook dinner for one and actually enjoy it. The loneliness that used to feel like punishment started to feel like peace. Then, one evening in early spring, I got a letter. Handwritten, no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Ethan, I'm leaving town. I got a job offer in another state. Something small, but it's a chance to start over. I wanted to thank you, not for forgiving me, but for showing me what I destroyed. I won't ask for another chance, but I'll always hope you find the kind of love I wasn't brave enough to give you. Marissa. I read it twice, folded it carefully, and slid it into a drawer. I didn't feel sadness or relief, just a strange, quiet understanding. We'd both failed the marriage in different ways. Hers was deception, mine was silence. But somehow, through all that pain, we both found something resembling clarity. A month later, I met someone. Not the way it happens in movies. No sparks flying, no destiny in a coffee shop. Just a normal Tuesday at the community center. Her name was Claire. She was volunteering at an art workshop for kids, and I was helping fix a broken shelf. She asked if I could hand her a screwdriver. I handed her the wrong one, and she laughed. That laugh didn't sound like Marissa's. It didn't hurt. It sounded like something new. We started talking, just simple things, work, movies, bad coffee. No expectations, no pretending. And for the first time in years, I realized I could look someone in the eyes without wondering if I was being tested. A few weeks later, I told her the truth about my past. Not every ugly detail, but enough that she'd understand where I came from. She listened quietly, then said, "Sounds like she taught you how to recognize real love." I smiled. Yeah, by showing me everything it's not. The summer that followed was the first one that didn't feel heavy. I fixed up my guitar, started playing again. Claire would come by sometimes and listen, sitting cross-legged on the floor while I sang old songs I'd forgotten I knew. Life didn't feel perfect, but it finally felt alive. One evening, as the sun went down, she asked if I ever think about the woman who tested me. I said, not much. Some lessons don't need repeating. She smiled softly. Then I guess you passed. I looked at her then, really looked, and felt something I hadn't felt since before everything broke. Not excitement, not relief, just calm, honest peace. Because love isn't about proving loyalty. It's about choosing trust every single day. And this time, I wasn't afraid of being tested anymore.